Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry and today we're talking battle mode. That's right, it's coming in about 2 weeks-ish time and I cannot wait. I think this is going to be the biggest thing, honestly, to Marvel Snap since global release or even the token shop, even though that was good and bad. But hey, it's coming. I can't wait. It's right around the corner. So with battle mode, I'm kind of predicting a bit of a shift in the meta, but not necessarily the ranked ladder, but in battle mode itself, because it's a different format. You play against the same player repeatedly until one person is at 0 cubes. You start at 10. So that means you're going to see the same deck on repeat. You're going to know what they have tucked away in their back pocket, what that secret sauce is. So I feel like it's going to change things up. You're going to have to adjust your decks on the fly to make sure that you're not too obvious in your plays. So I want to talk about 5 cards I think are going to perform exceptionally well in battle mode. These are already good cards, but I think they take the next step in this kind of format. So let's check it out. Number 5, America Chavez. America Chavez, man, a Series 1 card I think is going to make a huge impact. So there's a few reasons I have this card here, but the biggest one is deck thinning, and I think that's why a lot of meta decks just throw in America Chavez anyhow. It's not because she's the most strong card in the world. Actually, her power to cost ratio is pretty poor, but the reason she's in the decks is because she allows you to draw everything else before her. There's only 12 cards in the deck, right? So if you can guarantee that one's going to be on the bottom, or at least your last draw, you're going to have a much better chance of getting to the combos that you want sooner. So I think she's good in battle mode because you're going to be playing multiple matches. You might not get the draws that you want, and this makes it more consistent to get to the powerhouse cards that you need to beat your opponent. But the other reason I'm putting her here and why she made the list is because if you know on turn 5 your next draw is America Chavez, and the board state maybe isn't necessarily in your favor, or it's looking a bit grim, you don't really have the power output, America Chavez isn't going to do it for you, your hand's not really doing a whole lot, well, you can retreat and save a couple cubes. So it's so much more important in battle mode. Your cubes, they are your life total. They are going to make or break and allow you to win this match or keep playing. So I think if you can get out sooner, you're going to be in a good spot rather than your opponent like snapping on 5 and then you're thinking, oh, maybe I'll wait out this turn, see what I draw. No, you know you're drawing America Chavez. Get out now. And to top it all off, she's found in a lot of decks, as I was kind of mentioning earlier. A really popular deck right now. I don't even get to play it because I don't have Darkhawk yet, but the Zabu Hawk. So it's essentially you play Zabu and then you discount all of these Darkhawk, Shuri, Absorbing Man, you Spider-Man twice off of your Absorbing Man. That's insane combination. And then also you put a bunch of rocks in your opponent's deck. I almost wanted to put Darkhawk in this list. Spoiler alert, he's not. But because he is counterable, but the deck that he's played in is so strong, I think, in this format. The fact that you put rocks into your opponent's decks and ruin their draws is going to have such a heavy impact. So I feel like this deck is going to perform very, very well, especially on top with the control options like Black Widow bricking your hand and then rocks on top of the Widow's Bite. It's just like, it's nasty deck. It doesn't always work. I've heard some people say that it's actually not as strong as people think. It's just because of the Series 5 shiny card that we don't have. You don't get to try it. You only get rolled by it every now and then. But still, I think in this format in particular, this is going to perform really well. But again, America Chavez, you can put it in a whole bunch of combo decks, and I think she'll do great. Let's get to number 4. Number 4. Dracula. All right, Dracula. I probably didn't expect this one, but I think it's an extremely flexible card. You don't need to play it in a discard deck like I have above here. I just really like this discard deck, which is why I'm highlighting it. But in general, I think you can just put it in a deck with a lot of heavy power cards and then just reap the benefits. Because here's the thing, Dracula cannot be countered. You can't stop the on reveal with Cosmo. You can't stop the ongoing effect with Enchantress or steal it with Rogue. You can't do anything. The only thing you can do is maybe put some bad cards in your opponent's hands, which might happen every now and then, but for the most part, when the player has control over what they're playing, they're going to be fine. They're just going to play Dracula and kind of minimize the opportunities where Dracula hits a bad card, and so that you hit like 20 power or 16 power. See, a big thing I want to talk about here in battle mode, I think hiding your power off of the board, right, is going to be that much more important. There's other cards, and a little bit of a spoiler as well, as in the honorable mentions, I have cards like Okoye or Nakia. Those kind of cards that give buffs to your unrevealed cards are going to be so much more valuable because your opponent won't be able to assess where your power is You know, you're tucking it away. So anyways, I think Dracula is just a nice sneaky option who actually fits in a lot of decks. My goodness, even Zabu Dracula, we see that all the time. Perfect combination. That would do incredible. Also, another spoiler, I'm just like giving it all away right now, but I don't have Zabu in this list despite it being an incredibly strong card. And really that's because if you don't draw Zabu, then you're probably in a bad spot. And I think if somebody saw that you played Zabu on turn 3, they just retreat and only lose 1 cube. And that's kind of how it'll play out in battle mode. There's a lot of cards that are like that, but Dracula, I feel like you can play that on 4 and your opponent's going to go, okay, well, they might get good power out of that, or they might get nothing. So I'm going to keep playing. And then all of a sudden it's a 20 power Dracula because you discarded Infinite, and it's happy days. This deck right here, Dracula, is a super fun deck. You just try to cycle off of the Lockjaw cycles to get your discards going. Hopefully you discard Swarm or APOC, and then you have just a big turn 6 where you dump a bunch of swarms at the Lockjaw location. They swap, discard more things. Your APOC gets really big. Dracula discards your APOC, and happy days, or your Infinite if you're just carrying that. I put that one in. You could put America Chavez. That one's popular too, but I like the Infinite roll off of Lockjaw because that's just insta win. Anyhow, I think Dracula is going to shine in this mode. Let's get to number 3. Number 3, Wave. Wave is an incredible card. Probably one of the more broken cards in Snap because of what it can enable. It's a bit overpowered in my opinion in terms of the ramp, but it also bricks your opponent's hands. If they're trying to play a bunch of cards, let's say on turn 6 they're trying to do the Silver Surfer thing where they drop a bunch of 3s and Silver Surfer. Well, if you play Wave the turn prior and then you play Death, She-Hulk, and whatever else you got kicking around that you have available energy for, holy smokes, dude, it's such a swing in the game. So I think for the disruption purposes, Wave will do excellent in battle mode. Just if you know your opponent's plays, let's say you're playing against them and you know there's that Silver Surfer deck. Well, you don't ever have to wave early. You would just always wait until turn 5 to wave them. Alternatively, if they have a big like turn 3 or 4 or something along those lines, then you just wait to hold Wave for those moments. Death Wave in particular has always been a good deck, but it kind of fell out of favor with other things becoming a little bit more popular. I think in this format, it's going to thrive because it has things like Arrow to pull cards away, Killmonger to control, and then even She-Hulk is a bit of a skill card because you have to know when to pass your turn or not spend that energy. And then Death, discounting Death is always insane. So you just get this crazy power output. And I think this deck is going to actually thrive in battle mode, and I'm kind of here for it. But Wave in particular, I think is the culprit that really enables this deck, even though it's called like the Bayro after Arrow, Bayro after the Arrow, and then Death, you know, like they're like key figures here, but I think Wave steals the show. Number 2, Cosmo. Of course, I had to put Cosmo here, dude. It's like the best card in the game because it just absolutely wins you games. If your opponent's trying to do a Wong thing, like they're literally doing an on-reveal deck against you in battle mode and you're running Cosmo, you're always going to have a chance to win that game. No matter what they draw, if you play it correctly in the right location, boom, they're gone. They're out of here. Retreat. Or you just steal a bunch of cubes because you waited until turn 6, completely shut them down. Now, a really good deck is Seracle Surfer. Oh my gosh, I can't say that very well, but it's basically Miracle Sarah, right? Because you discount everything, or at least 3 of these 3 drops to 2, and then you play 3 of them on turn 6, including Silver Surfer himself with like Brood and Cosmo or whatever you want to play. It's crazy power output on all those 3 drops. But Cosmo, man, he's just too good. He shuts down so many cards in this game. I'm actually putting him in too as just kind of a placeholder for all tech options. You'll notice that I didn't have Enchantress, Rogue, Shang-Chi, anything like that, because I think it's just a little bit redundant. We know the value that tech cards have in Marvel Snap. They're very prevalent. We see them all the time. So I feel like Cosmo is just the best one, so I put him here. But in general, tech cards are going to run rampant in battle mode. It's going to be a bunch of tech options because you don't know what deck your opponent's going to be bringing to the table. So if you have all of the available options in your deck, if you're doing a control thing with like Leader as your finisher, unfortunately, that's going to do pretty well. Now, the only reason I didn't put Leader here, it seems like I'm going to talk about the ones I don't put a little bit more, but I didn't put Leader because I feel like if you know your opponent has Leader, you scouted it out and you found that they had leader early on in the matches, well, then you just kind of play around it, and then maybe it's not that good. I feel like there's a lot of ways to get around leader if you know 100% it's coming. And if you know 100% it's coming and you're going to lose, then you just retreat and lose less cubes. So maybe that's the case. But anyhow, I just had to shout out the tech cards, and especially our little boy Cosmo here. And this deck above is extremely strong for getting up to infinite ranks, etc. So I think it will thrive in battle mode, unfortunately, unless there's changes before this patch drops. This is going to be coming at the end of the month when they do make some minor balance changes. And I don't know, I think a lot of people are calling for a Cosmo change, but we'll see. Number 1, Daredevil. All right, number 1 is Daredevil. Dude, you can't tell me that this isn't going to be the best battle mode card. I'm convinced. I'm also blinded because I absolutely love this card, and I got the Scotty Young variant, which I absolutely adore. But this is becoming one of my favorite cards to play, and I really, genuinely believe it's going to be a dominant force in battle mode, because it is so incredibly valuable knowing what your opponent is going to do. We already see incredible combinations with Daredevil and Professor X or Spider-Man, Hobgoblin, any of these sorts of things to shut down your opponent on turn 5, so that on turn 6, they're extremely limited in what they can do, and then you play leader and you win the game. But in general, I just feel like if you have the information, you know what they're going to, you literally in Marvel Snap, the benefit is that turns are simultaneous, right? But if they were sequential, oh my gosh, it's just a whole different game. But now the only thing with Daredevil is that your opponent might retreat, but they have to make their play first. So if they decide the Daredevil information is not worth and they get out, then fair. But you're probably going to sneak in a couple extra cubes because you'll play Daredevil, you snap, they might make their play trying to go to that final bell, and then boom, you like Professor X them, and then they want to get out on turn 6, and you snuck away with a few extra cubes. So am I saying this card is overpowered and it's going to be run in every single deck? No, not at all. I just feel like this will have the biggest swings. It will have one of the best cube rates, let's say, in battle mode. I think it'll be a worthwhile option to throw in a little bit more frequently. You have to have the accompanying cards for the most part, like the Hobgoblin, Professor X, but you can get away with just some pretty good stuff, and then you avoid whatever they were going to play on turn 5. Let's say they tried to like Professor X you. Well, all of a sudden you know that's coming, so you play a bunch of power there. I mean, unlikely that they would ever play that into a Daredevil play, but hey, it's a possibility. This deck, by the way, I don't know if it's all that good, but it's basically a control deck that I've started for like months, that I've just kind of added to and took things out, put things in, and it seems to do pretty good for me. It's often the deck that I run when I want to win a location with only one card when I have that quest pop up, because it's got a lot of options for that and a lot of giving my opponent stuff, which kind of makes it an easy one to complete. It's just a control deck. It's really annoying to play against. Unfortunately, I feel like eventually battle mode will kind of evolve into this just like tech battling option. A lot of the tournaments are going to be like, did they draw the Enchantress, the Cosmo, to beat their opponent? So we'll see how it plays out, but we're going to have a lot of fun with it on this channel. Definitely stay tuned, because we're going to be doing battle mode all the time, battle mode streams all day. But that's my top 5. Let me know of some cards that you think are going to excel in the battle mode format, but let's get to some honorable mentions as well. All right, so I just got a few honorable mentions here. So I got Sarah. I think that's just a fantastic card. The best part about Sarah is that she can't really be countered. You can't really remove her ongoing ability and find any value in that unless they're able to play Sarah early, or you somehow snipe it on the very same turn. So for the most part, you're going to get your full value from Sarah, and you're going to be just fine. She's one of the most broken cards. She creates so many decks. She easily could have been in this top 5. Mysterio is another great one. I really like the concept of hiding your power levels. So I got Mysterio, Okoye, Invisible Woman, Nakia is another one. I couldn't really think of any other ones, but I feel like these are really good. If your opponent doesn't know how much power you have going into the final turn, you can maybe squeak away with a lot of cubes. It's going to be a real problem of trying to get your opponent not to retreat when you really drew the nuts and played a lot of power, because I feel like in battle mode, people are going to be that much more conservative and retreat a lot more frequently. So if you can hide your power and you can get these crazy power totals, these big swings on turn 6, those are going to be the decks that are going to win a lot of games and quickly end some battle mode matches. So yeah, that's why I got Okoye here. I also did a recent video about Series 2, and she is the top cube rate card. So I think it's a bit of a sleeper pick. I like Okoye a lot. Iceman, gosh, one of the most annoying cards. I think disrupting your opponent's game plan is always the worst thing. He's a one drop, easy to throw into any deck. So that's just always a great option. And then Invisible Woman. I mean, she only usually gets paired with a lot of cards like Hela or any of the discard package, because you don't want to discard early. You want to do it on the last turn, and fair enough, you know. Or you're doing a big on reveal, like maybe like, I don't know, Odin on White Tiger, etc., etc. And that's all great, and that could work with Invisible Woman. But I was just thinking maybe you just straight up play her to hide your power. You know, maybe your opponent plays Cosmo there because they're anticipating that you're going to be playing those crazy on reveals or discards or whatever have you. But really, you're just hiding a bunch of really strong ongoing cards, like even like Red Skull, or you're doing like a zero deck or whatever else. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting viability to Invisible Woman to tuck away your plays and steal those cubes at the end. But there you go. Those are my honorable mentions. Those are my top 5. I'm really excited about battle mode. I want to keep talking about it. I want to keep playing. We got big plans. I want to do some drafts. I think there's going to be some tournament formats where they have drafts. There's a lot to be excited about here. So definitely let me know which cards you think are going to stand out. Even some of the unreleased ones maybe might be insane. I was thinking like Kang might be probably insane if Daredevil is going to be pretty good. Huh? One of those. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will catch you guys next time.